And we are off and running, folks. Welcome in to Saturday morning, the closing line edition, otherwise known as the Saturday sit down with the big man on campus. College basketball is going to take center stage. No better person here on this planet right now to talk college basketball other than myself. No, I'm just kidding with you, folks. The big man on campus is here. We're going to break it all down today. A huge card, a lot of moving parts today and information for us today. Jeff, welcome into the show. We got an hour. It's going to be action-packed, and it's going to be fun, brother.
Yep, we'll break it all down as we normally do here on the closing line. We'll try to get through a lot of different games. I'll give out a player or two. Donnie will grace you with something. A lot to talk about today, Donnie, not only on the court but off. A lot of interesting scenarios that you're going to have to make sure you take into account when you're breaking down the games.
Absolutely, Jeff. Why don't we wait a minute here, because I know a lot of people are going to be filling in here. It's one of the best attended shows here that we have at sportsbookreview.com. We're going to flip out, get some retweets going in here for some live links for everybody. The best way to support the show, Jeff will tell you the same thing. You know, retweet it yourself on your timeline if you like the stuff that we do. You don't have to pay us any money. Just hit the subscribe button down there on the YouTube channel. Also, check us out on SBR Sports Picks and also sportsbookreview.com. But retweet the show if you like what we're doing. We're going to have some fun. And hopefully, again, Jeff, give us some winners today, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you like the show. And again, retweet the show if you're on Twitter. That's a great way to get it out to people that maybe don't know about it or maybe are living under a rock. It's a great way to have them see it. Make sure you're doing that. Donnie, how'd you do last night?
I did very well, Jeff. Dipped into a little Ivy League action, pulled out the 1-0 and a nice total over in the Brown game at 156.5. Didn't start out so hot, but again, when paces, as we like to say, Jeff, styles make fights, paces make basketball overs, and that's what you had in that game. Goes over easily to end it, and I know also, Jeff, you had a pretty good night last night as well. Talk about your W last night, which again, Jeff, we could talk about your W every single night, it seems like.
Yeah. No, I had Furman. It was easy winner. It was pretty much, I think, right out, opening tip. I mean, it was like 14-2 early. They jumped right out and had a nice, easy winner. So already almost 300 people in here live. Very awesome. 3 minutes in, already a lot of people in here. So make sure you, comment, say hello, and hit the like button. Donnie, let's get going.
Let's do it, Jeff. And I know the hot topic of today, obviously late last night, if you're, as you're living under a rock, if you're not seeing the leaking out of information on this FBI probe with the coaches and players in NCAA basketball, a bombshell broke last night on tape, wiretap, Jeff. One of our favorite shows that we like to watch is The Wire, built on, burner phones and, hiding communications. Not really that smart going down there in Arizona. Miller looks like he's about to get pinched. Seemingly offering up, making sure a $100,000 payment was going to go through to Seton out in Arizona to make sure that he goes to the Wildcats as opposed to, let's say, Kansas at this point. We're still waiting for some fallout on that one, Jeff, but late last night, that game was pulled off the board. I believe Oregon opened up already, Jeff, at -2, now sitting at -4 in a lot of outlets. This is a game I'm squared in on because a lot of times, Jeff, we're trying to pick up on information that's not technically built into the line or some extenuating circumstances, Jeff. Arizona and Oregon has all of this. Mindset is the main thing here, Jeff. Let's spend a couple minutes on the fallout of Arizona versus Oregon today and what we can anticipate. Go ahead.
This is why, in my opinion, it's impossible to make being a tout a reputable business. Because, Donnie, you have information here that if you're smart enough to find early, I could personally show you the bet that I already have on average, or I have in Oregon, -1.5. I can show you it. I have it. There's no way for me to properly get that out to people. You know what I'm saying? So this is where, this business that we're in is all about info. So if you can find info before other people, you can get the best line. It would have been impossible for me to get that pick out to people because not everyone has it on. Some people have it pulled. Some people can't even bet till the morning. But as far as the situation, Sean Miller is done at Arizona. I don't know how he coaches this game. How do you walk out of the locker room in this game? Honestly, how do you walk out in another building? This isn't at home. It's not like you're going to have some people there. Oh, we'll let stuff play out, Sean. No, this is in an opposing building. How, if you're Seton, do you walk out and play in this game? I know he's the best player in the country, in my opinion, but I mean, those fans, they're not gonna just say, well, we'll leave you alone. Keep in mind also, Trier's out, your point guard. one of your better guards. This happens literally 12, 15 hours before the game. I mean, it's a brutal situation if you're Arizona. And Donnie, I hate to tell you, and Sean better be watching out because he is going to get arrested for this. This is wire fraud. This is all that sort of thing. And the fact that he did it on a phone that clearly he didn't care much about it wasn't protected or anything. He even said in the tape, if you hear it, they asked him, do you want us to deal with Book Richardson on this? He said, no, deal with me on all the money stuff. So this goes to show you, this isn't just one thing. It could have been multiple things. Yeah, I don't know how they play a game like this. You see the line; it's already up to 4. Oregon's playing some good basketball right now too, in their building. This is one of those situations where I don't really know how Arizona handles this. Your coaches, what does your coach do, Donnie? Does he not coach tonight? I mean, I don't. How do you coach?
No, you're right about it, Jeff. And that's what you put. It's an extenuating circumstances. If all things are equal here and you have Arizona coming up to play Oregon, that's a formidable opponent. But you're right, Jeff. I like the topic you brought up at Oregon, Jeff. We're not talking about playing, we like to joke around in Philadelphia. You're going to come into the Liacouras Center, or you're going to come into the DAC, or go play up at Gola Arena where it's only a couple thousand people and it's not a raucous atmosphere. Oregon, with or without this game, Jeff, the last home game, senior day out there, which plays a little bit, but this is already one of the most raucous atmospheres in the country to play in. And now you have a late game, Jeff. We're not talking about 12 o'clock tip. We're talking about these guys getting lathered up all day for a 10:15 Eastern, 7:15 West Coast start here. They are going to be loaded for bear to attack this team. And if you're the Arizona administration right now, Miller is still coaching, which is going to be pretty funny to me. They have all day to figure this out. And Ayton, technically, even though he just got hit with the questionable designation, it would be amazing if he plays in this game, Jeff. Just coming from a capping standpoint, and I'm going to go 2 plays today deep, Jeff. Went 2 plays last week. We'll go 2 again today. I already gave this out to my members. I don't even care really what the line is coming out at. I already locked in as soon as it came back up, Oregon -4. And when you look into it, Jeff, you're right. I like all there. But let's not forget also Trier already being out of this game. If you dip back, and you don't want to take a lot of stock in this stuff, folks, but if you go back to the game last that Oregon played on the road versus Arizona, check out these stats here, Jeff. If you look at Trier and Ayton in that game, do you know they combined, Jeff, for 75 man minutes in that game? You know how many points they combined for, Jeff? 49 points in that game, which if you're speculating tonight, you're probably going to be without Ayton as well. That could be 75 man minutes, your 2 top players, and 50 total points out of that first game. So if you look at the opening line, Jeff, which you got, let's say -1.5, if all things were equal, no scandal, anything broke. You're telling me right now that even if the line moves 2.5 points, Ayton, the coach, and the whole situation on Oregon's home court on senior night, last home game on a bubble-type team is not going to make a difference? I don't care if the line moves 2.5. Give me Oregon -4 all day in this one, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to argue with there. I don't really see, I mean, we have to keep in mind here, Sean Miller is going to be arrested. Okay. I don't know why he hasn't been already. The writing's on the wall. The shoe is dropping. It's kind of like when you're, you get in trouble and you know the feds are coming. They're going to knock soon. You just got to wait for it. You don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how Sean Miller can honestly walk out of that locker room tonight. It's fascinating to think about what's going to happen here. My opinion, I think Lorenzo Romar will coach this game. He's an assistant there.
I mean, yeah. You like to put it in like everyday terms for people. Let's just say you finally got a new job, 2 months on the job, Jeff. Let's just say, let's play hypotheticals, right? You graduated from Temple University. So what you said on your application, but you don't have a diploma. And they're asking, hey, you know what? We lost a couple files down there. Jeff, why don't you come down and bring your diploma down by this afternoon? But you got an important sales call you got to make in 30 minutes. Do you give a damn about closing that sales call when you know you're going to get walked out of the building at any minute? It's all about mindsets. And again, Jeff, you're right. You're on the road here. What are you, 1,500 miles away from home? Maybe they wouldn't be as harsh on you as the home fans. They're going to be loaded for bear at Oregon today. Again, that's my first play there we're going to take on the close line for me, Jeff. I know you got it much cheaper at 1.5. I got it at -4. I see Oregon winning this game by close to double digits just on the facts alone here, Jeff.
Yeah, and I want to make this clear. I'm not going to count this play. It's just one of those things where I was able to move on it quickly at the book that I had, and I got the play. Can Sean Miller really be arrested? Yeah, of course he can. I mean, this is wire fraud. This is a federal
state lines. Yeah. State lines.
This is a federal charge here. Book Richardson's got the same charge, and he was the assistant. Sean actually did a little bit more even. Let's move on, Donnie. We'll get into the rest of the card. Where do you want to start? Let's start at the 12 o'clock games.
Yeah, let's go right down. We'll take a look here. And again, if anybody's in the chat box, always to try to keep it. And we're not going to be able to hit every single game, but we'll try to get as many as you can. If you have a game and you throw it out there when we're a little bit, of a die-down period, make sure you include the rotation number so we can skip through and get to that game right away, Jeff. Why don't we hit the Big 12 real quick here? 5:17, 5:18, a noon tip-off, Jeff. Baylor versus TCU. 2,300 tickets have been tracked offshore in this one. 55% of those tickets, Jeff, are going to track towards the home team, TCU, in this one. Line opened up at 4.5. If you're a line reader, it's going in the right direction. More tickets, more money on TCU. The line's going higher, Jeff. I have 5.5 primarily across the board. BetOnline.ag, Jeff, showing up at a 6 right now. Some thoughts here on Baylor versus TCU, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, I like Baylor at 4.5. At 6, it started to become interesting to me. I mean, Baylor is a team that is squarely on the bubble, in my opinion. This win will go a long way. It's another big-time win for this group. Look, TCU, I think, is, to me, more of an average basketball team without Jalen Fisher. I mean, they have had major trouble defensively. I mean, they've given up 80 points a game in conference, Donnie. I mean, opponents are shooting 47% in the Big 12 this year versus Texas Christian team. They're only 8-7 against the number. I mean, they're not blowing people away. They're basically 500 all season against the number. And this Baylor team's been good on the road. 7-4 against the spread. They've covered 10 of 15 in conference. I love what they do defensively. Akul is a great player. I like, guys like, Lecomte, great senior guard there. And they've also covered 10 of 15 against Baylor. At 6, this is definitely a good play, I think. It's one that I'm going to be, start at 12? Yeah. It's starting to look kind of like that game last week, Donnie, with Texas and Oklahoma State. The only concern I guess I have in this game is the fact that at times this TCU team can really blow you out. I mean, can Baylor kind of run with them? Can they score? Can they, handle what, TCU could do offensively? They're a pretty good defense team. And Donnie, they are one of the last 4 buys. I still think Baylor has some work to do. This one will go a long way in proving that.
You got it, man. Jeff, I know the people dip in here almost, 650, peaking at over 700 people live in the chat box. Thanks for tuning in, Jeff. We like to give out plays as we go here, Jeff, and I know you're chomping at the bit. And the people out there in the chat box, they want to hear it, Jeff. What are we looking at early? Maybe a play for you here?
Yeah, just want to make one comment here. He fucked up, but he's trying to save his program and keep it and let it excel. He hooked the kid up with money. Yeah, he shouldn't have done it, but doing hard time, I kind of feel bad for the guy. What on earth could you feel bad about? The guy's the biggest scumbag in the world. He's fucking with kids. He's trying to grab them and say, here, come with me, I'll pay you. He's going to ruin their future. He's ruining the future of the fucking program. And how can you allow this? You know it's a rule. You know what you can and can't do. I don't want to hear the whole everything, everyone does it. It doesn't make it right. Everybody speeds. That doesn't mean you can do it. It's illegal. You can't do it. And they know the rules when they sign up for it. And the crooked shithead, Sean Miller, who all he talks about is how great he is and how he follows all compliance bullshit. Look, do I think he should do 30 years? No, and he won't. He'll get probation, and that's that. Or he'll do I don't know, they'll do something. I don't think he'll go to jail for this, but he failed kids. He failed people that believed in him. And the only people that are really going to get fucked here are the kids. They're the ones. Ayton might have not even knew about this. It could have been done through someone else. I can't feel bad for people like Sean Miller. They know the rules. They decide, I'm above the rules. I'm going to do what I have to do. Sean Miller doesn't need to do this. He's going to get good recruits regardless, especially where he is. I don't feel bad for him at all. I don't know how you can feel bad for him. As far as this game, Donnie, that I'm looking at, I'm going to play this game. This is going to be a pick for me, an official one. I'm going to go over 155 in Monmouth Fairfield. Going to go right back to it again, Donnie. I bet it over the week with Ryder. I'm going to go with the same play here. Monmouth Fairfield over 155. So listen up. Monmouth over 155 is a play of mine. Both these teams, Donnie, have been spot on all season over the number. 15-9, 15-10. They've done a great job of getting up and over. Both teams have had issues defending. This Fairfield team, Donnie, giving up 80 points a game. in conference. I love the fact that both these teams foul a ton. Fairfield's at 22, Monmouth at 20. They're going to be on the line a lot. I look for a very similar game that we saw the other night, Donnie. You look at pace, it's very good here. Monmouth 38th, Fairfield 42. This game doesn't mean a ton either. I think you'll see just a game that goes up and down. We see plenty of points here. For me, I'm going to go Monmouth, Fairfield over 155. Fairfield, Donnie, this year at home, 8-2 to the over. Give me Monmouth, Fairfield over 155. That's a play today.
No, I like where you're going with that, Jeff, because, again, sometimes when you look, when you head in the NCAA tournament, teams down 8-9 points the last minute, they're going to foul because their season is over. This is one of those games, Jeff, that you're right, can be played more like a pickup game with a lot of pace. Let me get my points, let me get to the rack, and not a lot on the line, so there's not a lot of pressure up there. Monmouth, somebody brought up in the chat box, I think it was Chris, wanted to get a side in this game, Jeff, with Monmouth. An interesting line because we're looking at Monmouth coming back now healthy with Tillman, now healthy with Seaborn. But now you're going on the road. That was a huge win for Monmouth at home, to me, versus the best team in the Metro Atlantic Conference. Breezed through that game. It was senior night, nice emotional game. Everything went well. Now you're heading out on the road, and Jeff, as you pointed out again, not motivation for Monmouth other than getting out there, getting right, getting into their offensive sets and playing well. The end result in this game is not going to matter much. So I would sit out the side personally myself with not a huge edge, Jeff, but I do like where you're going there with the actual total in the game.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the side, but total looks real good here.
All right, we'll keep it moving as usual. Let's hit some of these 12 o'clock games, then we'll sort of open it up for the last half hour of the show. Earlier game again, Jeff, Seton Hall and St. John. Some injury information with Rodriguez. Probably not going to go for Seton Hall. Take a look, Jeff. Opening line at -1. Now sits at 2.5. So some good line movement in favor of the Johnnies here versus Seton Hall. 54% of those tickets, Jeff, are lining up still on the road team, the Seton Hall Pirates. What gives in this one? And again, Seton Hall for an interesting situation, Jeff. Basically playing a back-to-back in college basketball with condensation on the floor up in Providence. Had to redo the game the very next day. The good part about it, Jeff, it's not a huge travel burden for Seton Hall, being in North Jersey, traveling up to Providence, Rhode Island. So I don't think travel is going to be that different. But just an interesting one heading into the St. John's game. Any looks on this one?
Yeah, before we get into this game, I want to shout out one of the commenters. Nice to see him in here. His name is Zach Martin, Donnie. I went to I remember Zach Martin when I was a young whippersnapper. I'm talking elementary school. So shout out to him.
What was that like? What was that like? 2009?
No. No, it's what was that be? That would be circa like 95, I remember him forever. Red-haired kid, always very good at sports. I remember in high school he had one hell of a party at his house one time. Shout out to Zach Martin, doing some very good things. I believe he's a teacher now, baseball coach. Shout out to him. Nice to see him in here. As far as this game, I don't really know how you do this one. It's another tough one. I mean, you have a weird situation here where a team played kind of 2 nights in a row. Now you got to go on the road, and face a team in St. John's who, look, I mean, they've improved. I mean, they've really been solid. I mean, I like this Shamari Pons a lot. I think Chris Mullen's doing some good things there. I don't have a big feel in this one. Gun to my head, I'll probably take St. John's, but I don't have an interest in this game. This is also a game where it's a weird situation, so I'm just kind of staying away.
Next up, Jeff, 521, 522. We'll hit this one quickly. Providence and Georgetown, Jeff. Much improved Georgetown team. And most pundits out there, Jeff, myself included, weren't expecting too much out of Georgetown and maybe a laughable season, but sort of pulling it together here. Playing Providence on the road, showing up as a favorite, Jeff. Chris now showing a -2, -106, and 62% of those offshore tickets, Jeff, lining up for the Georgetown Hoyas in this one. And again, back-to-back games that we're going to talk about. Seton Hall, Providence, coming off that weird type of environment. Ed Cooley's going to go on the road to play Georgetown and Patrick Ewing's squad today, Jeff. Anything on this game, or maybe, again, with that sort of back-to-back weird environment game now heading out on the road, how do you think that's going to turn out possibly for this game?
Yeah, I'm not, but this is a game where, look, Georgetown's kind of unfortunately made their beds. They have to sleep in it. They're not going to the tournament unless they win the Big East. But you have another situation here where Providence is another team that really can't afford a loss to a team like Georgetown. It's not going to help their cause, especially with this bubble this year is, to me, pretty strong. There's a lot of good teams on the bubble. This is a game that, I like Georgetown just because they have played a lot better. I like them at home, but I don't know. Providence is pretty desperate, Donnie. But again, this is one of those games where another team involved in a weird situation. Both these games we're talking about, I think it's in your better interest to just kind of stay away. You have like 90 games on the card today. I wouldn't try to decide which team, both, by the way, are on the road, are going to show up in weird situations. Providence really needs this one. This will be a real coaching strategy and a tough angle for Ed Cooley there.
Gotcha. Hang tight, folks, there in the chat box. We'll start opening up just a little bit more. The rest of the 12 o'clock games, we'll skip. I mean, Northern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Jeff, -8. I don't have much on that game other than, Eastern Michigan at home, senior day, even though they only have one senior, I believe, which is Bond. And they're always an interesting team, Jeff. They play some weird, freaky matchup zone where sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't work well. One of the teams you figure would work well against, Jeff, would be NIU, not the most adept shooting team in the conference in the MAC. I don't have much on that. Do you have anything on that one, Jeff, real quick, or no?
I can't say I play the MAC too much, Donnie. I will say this, though. 531, 532 is kind of interesting.
Let's go. Hit it. Yep.
Yeah, you have Maryland, Michigan here. One of the most heaviest bet games today is Michigan. First of all, it's early, so most of the time, that's kind of skewed because the games are early and people want action on it. But Michigan looks like a pretty heavy public side here. And you're seeing some weird line movement in this game, Donnie. Why is Maryland a favorite? Why have they moved to a favorite? Now you're looking at Michigan's a favorite. This is an interesting game. Is there much in the way of value here? I don't think. I mean, I like Michigan, though. I'm a big fan of this group. I think they're a team that can make a little run in the tournament. I'm always worried about them, though, in late game situations. They're not a good foul shooting team. They're not at Chrysler Center here. And Maryland's always going to give you a solid game. They're getting healthy a bit. It's just an interesting handicapping situation. It kind of screams Maryland here, doesn't it, Donnie?
No, it actually does scream Maryland. When you're looking, Jeff, I mean, this is an early game, Jeff. Already 5,000 tickets wagered. Just to give you a idea, the other big games early, Jeff, TCU Baylor, only 2,300 tickets. Providence Georgetown, 1,400 tickets. Indiana State Bradley, 175. So just to give you an idea of who's betting what, and you're right, Jeff. 60% of the money, 60% of the tickets coming in on Michigan with some weird line movement. That you're right about that, because of course we see Michigan the way they play. John Beilein, oh my God, they're going to head into the tournament hot. Most don't know much about Maryland, but you're right. Sneaking that game in at 12 o'clock certainly doesn't help Michigan in my eyes.
Agreed. Also, by the way, someone's asking on the chat, is Bill Walton on the call tonight? Unfortunately he is. Yeah. And look, I get, some people like Bill Walton. I don't think I don't think he knows anything about basketball, frankly. I just think he is on there to just push his weird angles and situations. But I do think it's kind of a waste of time having him on tonight. I mean, this is a pretty serious thing. I don't want to hear him making these stupid jokes and stuff. I know they probably will have him on. It's just kind of a shame that I want I'd love Jay Billis on this game. I know they won't do it, but I want to hear legitimate. Jay Billis is a lawyer. I mean, I'd like to hear from him. Maybe have him and Dave Pasch. These fanboys like Dick Vitale. I don't want to hear him. I mean, Dick Vitale, Donnie, is the only guy that still uses the word. Do you ever hear his favorite word? Do you know what it is?
What is it, PTP or
no.
Dipsy-doo Dunkaroo?
Favorite word is sleazy. He says sleazy a lot. Like he's always like, "Oh, look, it's so sleazy." I'm not interested in Dick Vitale on this. It's a shame that he will be on it. I need to hear someone serious, not making fucking acid jokes and that kind of thing.
No, I hear you on that, Jeff. Why don't we hit one more game at noon, and then again, we'll open it up and have some fun today. 533, 534, Jeff. Always a popular team seems to bet on, whether it be a side or a total. That's Marquette heading on the road to DePaul in this game. 74% of the tickets, Jeff, lining up on Marquette as a road team. 81% of the money. And here we go, Jeff. Ready? Well, the line opens up at 3.5 in both outlets at Chris and also Pinnacle, Jeff. Now sitting much lower here at 2 across the board and half juice. Even, Jeff, a 1.5 showing up at CG Technologies. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is on this game.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, Marquette's also without Marcus Howard, and one of their better players, probably their best player. This has the looks of one of those late games, where Marquette's a bit sleepy here. They're kind of just ready for the conference tournament. Look, Marquette's not making the tournament. They're going to have to focus on the conference tournament. Now you head to a DePaul where, DePaul's not good, but Dave Leho's done a good job there. They're improving. They're in their home atmosphere, a new stadium. I could see a sleepy situation here, and DePaul get a weird win. Marquette is not a good defensive team, and they're without their best player. So yeah, especially with the line move, it's hard to not like DePaul here a bit.
No, you're right, Jeff. Let's keep it going down the list. And again, if anybody has any chat downs out there, even Jeff, if you want to bring up a game, we could certainly hit it as well. If we don't get to it, 5:43, 5:44, 2 o'clock Eastern time tip. Wichita State's going to go on the road versus SMU. You know, a couple weeks back, if you saw this line opening up at 8 or 7.5, what it sits at now, you would be a little bit shocked. Landry Shamet should be back in the fold for Wichita State after missing the past game with a illness. And of course, Shake Milton's still going to be out, and he seems to be the engine on SMU. Jeff and I have also picked on a couple games that SMU has played in. You know, the Memphis game, one to be exact, where I believe, Jeff, you even hit a money line play on that. I had 7 in that game, and we certainly rolled to an easy victory in that one without Milton. Still not the same, but now you're looking at, role reversal here. SMU's still tough at home, theoretically, in that environment at Moody, but now, Wichita coming into town, rounding in the form late in the season, Jeff. A little too much delay on the road here for Wichita State, or you think they possibly can get that done here?
No, I think they crush SMU in this game. This is a revenge game for Wichita. Look, this is a tough stretch. For SMU. I mean, you've lost 5 of 6. Your only win coming against East Carolina, who I think me and 4 listeners could probably beat. And you look at the games. I mean, the home atmosphere hasn't mattered much. Cincinnati crushed them. I was on them in that game. We had, you and I were involved in that Memphis game. They lost that one. And that was to a Memphis team that was without their best player in that one. So, yeah, I think this team is pretty bad without Milton and Foster. Melagu's been kind of hurt a bit as well. Jamal McMurray is a nice player, Jimmy Witt, guys like that. But this Wichita State team, I think, is what you're going to see with them is, I'd hope, better defensive performances. That's one thing I think they need to shore up a bit. You haven't seen it really lately. You even look at over the week against Tulane. You give up 86 in that game. Shamet will be back. McDuffie, Morris, when those guys get going, they're pretty tough to stop. I just don't know that the SMU Mustangs have some of the bigs and kind of the guys to run with Wichita. I think Wichita wins by double digits, Donnie.
Getting down some of these rotations that we're going to skip to, Jeff. We'll keep it going down the board. I'll try to take them in order as we get them. It's kind of hard how quickly the chat box goes with over 700 people in there, but we'll try our best to get to each and every one, Jeff. We're going to slip it down. Eric wants to bring up a game, Jeff, a conference that we're really familiar with here. 6:45, 6:46, Jeff, a 7 o'clock Eastern time tip-off. That's going to be Northeastern traveling down to Elon. Elon has a close place in my heart, Jeff, because the last time Elon played, I picked up a win betting against Charleston. 66%, though, Jeff, going to pull up and bet on 81% of the money. It's a lower ticket count. Obviously, it's a lower level non-Power 5 game that's going to start a little bit later this evening. But the line opened up in the favor of Northeastern, Jeff, at 4.5. If you are a line reader, that line now down to 3. Any opinions here, Jeff? Northeastern traveling down to Elon.
Yeah, I had someone call the show that I do at night and asked about this game last night, and I had no real opinion on it. I don't. Northeastern, a very good ball screen offense. I'd have to look more into how Elon defends that. Elon back with Brian Dawkins. He comes back for them. I'm not really interested in this game. I don't really have any opinion on it. And I'm going to have to pass on it, frankly.
No, but hey, that's what we're about, man. If we're about giving out good information, not just information out here coming in. Kyle's going to come up, Jeff. We're going to go rotation 6. Let's see what we got here. He's got 699. So we'll head it down to 699, Jeff. We're heading to your neck of the woods, Jeff. Let's take a look. 7 p.m. tip-off, 699, 700. South Dakota State, IPFW in this one, Jeff. Another light wagering game. Only about 350 tickets have been tracked on this one. However, Jeff, 76% of those tickets are going to line up on the road squad. South Dakota State here. Line opened up at 2. It's now down to 1, primarily across the board. Heavy action coming on the road team, Jeff, but the line is dropping. Any advantages here for us?
Well, I mean, South Dakota State has clinched the Summit League. So I'm not really sure that there's much for them to be concerned about in this game. But here's my problem. Mike Daum is a competitor, okay? And if you know anything about Mike Daum, last year, Donnie, he absolutely destroyed Fort Wayne. Yeah. And when I mean destroyed, he put over 50 points up in both games against IPFW. Fort Wayne had major trouble with Michael Daum last year. And Mike Daum is a competitor. He's going to play hard in every single game. This is the last game of the season. But I do have a concern. I don't think there's a ton of reason to play for anything in this game if you're South Dakota State. My opinion, I'd probably look towards a total in this game. I think both teams will be fairly loose with the basketball. Not South Dakota State, for anyone that's interested, 9th in the country in points per game, 85 a game. They're not really a great defensive team either. I don't know how much concern they're going to have in this game. I surely would see this one going into the 80s, 87, 83, something like that. Fort Wayne, a team that can score the ball as well. Always like what John Kaufman does in that arena. 82 points a game for this group. They're also a team that has some trouble defending. First game, 78-76. It was a little low scoring. It was a close game. Possessions were important. The game mattered. This one, not sure there's a ton of care for either of these teams, especially with the conference tournament. You have senior day for the Fort Wayne characters. I would imagine you might see a team hit 90 in this game. I would kind of hope that they let their hair down and just kind of run.
No, all right. Didn't get the name on this one, Jeff, but we'll go back to SEC territory for a 1 o'clock tip. That's going to be 5:39, 5:40. Tennessee versus Mississippi. We all know the problems that Mississippi's having this year. Obviously, Andy Kennedy, the head coach, stepping down supposedly at the end of the year, but he's already been removed. But now we're looking at Tennessee coming into this game, Jeff, and it's no surprise here. 84% of the tickets are going to line up on Tennessee because we know Tennessee obviously having a good year in the SEC. You're going to have one of those marksman team that you're looking at in Mississippi that should, you think, be able to roll over. But we open up at a line at 4, Jeff, and even with 84% of those tickets, it's still sitting at -4 in this one. Give a thought process to why, if you were going to back Tennessee, why it's a good spot, or do you just think Mississippi's dead and buried because their head coach is out to play for, not heading to the tournament?
Well, they don't think they're dead and buried because they had a big-time win over the week out of Missouri, which was pretty impressive. I mean, and if you read any of the comments coming out of Oxford, players, I think, are relieved here. There was not a good bond between Andy Kennedy. From what I read, certain players didn't trust Andy Kennedy. They didn't have a relationship with him. And if you know anything about college hoops, it's important that when you go to a school, you have a relationship with the coach. That's why coaching's so important. Coaches are father figures to a lot of kids. I've mentioned Donnie before. I watched a Viceland documentary recently about kids that are juvenile delinquents. And it's amazing, Donnie, how many of those kids are, first of all, black, and second of all, don't have any father figures in their life. Coaches are very important in kids' lives. Many don't have father figures. It's amazing how just having one man in your life. And when you get to this level, you almost, if you're a student athlete, you look for that connection. You might not have had it all your life, but you had a good mother. She raised you the right way. Now you have a guy that you can trust. He's kind of a father figure to you. And that's what I'm so concerned and frustrated with guys like Sean Miller. Kids put their trust in him, even for just a year. They look for his guidance, and clearly all he cares about is money. I think that's important. And then with Mississippi, they didn't have that, I don't think. I like Andy Kennedy as a coach. I think he just lost in translation with his players. Mississippi, I think, is rejuvenated a bit. They're at home here. This is a big-time opponent coming in there. For teams like this is, you try to be a giant killer. You try to knock these kind of teams off. I'm not in love with Tennessee's guards. I'm just not. I'm not a Jordan Bone guy. I love Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield. I like those guys, but I just haven't seen a ton from that group guard play wise. And I think it could be a kind of a problem. They need their bench to play better. It's a tough game. You got to wonder where Mississippi is. I think they're kind of on the incline. I'd probably, gun to my head, if I had to play the game, which I won't, I'd probably frankly lean with the home dog here.
Jeff, we're going to go to Senior Day Moraga at McKeon Pavilion. Cody wants to talk about this matchup. That's going to be 6:07, 6:08. Santa Clara heading to St. Mary's in this one, Jeff. About a 50-50 ticket split. And there's reason to be that because I don't think we're going to have any, idea or not have an idea who's going to win this game. But again, we're gamblers here. Line opens up at 20, Jeff, now settling in around that 18 range. A lot of seniors here that we're going to take a look at for the St. Mary's Gales. Obviously, Jock Londale, senior, Emmett Narr, senior, Cullen Neal, Calvin Hermanson, senior. So a lot of emotion going to go in the Randy Bennett squad today. But keep in mind, as I've said in the past also, Jeff, when you look at these games, yes, it's very important. They're going to be emotional. They want to play. They want to win. But this is a high point spread, Jeff. If we're looking at a game where St. Mary's maybe had like 4, 5, 6, or 7, these kids are going to play it right down to the wire. But how many times have we seen it, Jeff? St. Mary's up 22, 23, 24 with 3 or 4 minutes to go, and the parade of timeouts, the parade of getting kids out of the game. And let's not forget also, Jeff, how many times instead of calling timeouts you see at the end of the game where St. Mary's or the team at home up just wants to get their bench in, they'll have their kids fouled just to stop the clock, and you might be giving up free points. So one to keep an eye on, but getting back to the game itself, Jeff, any shot here looking at that 18? I mean, it's a high number to cover, but can they do it here in Moraga?
I think they definitely can. I mean, Santa Clara is a bad basketball team, but the growing problem becomes with teams like Virginia, St. Mary's. Are there going to be enough possessions in the game to do that? It's a high number. St. Mary's is, either they're all into it the whole game and they'll win by 40, or they'll scrape by and get a 14-point win here. You just have to always ask yourself that question. But Santa Clara has actually played pretty well lately. A lot of their wins have been against subpar opponents. You look at when stepping up. I mean, last time they played St. Mary's on the road, St. Mary's went in there and beat them, badly. BYU beat them badly. Gonzaga beat them badly. If I had to play this on senior night, I would probably go with St. Mary's here. Santa Clara just stepping up has not had any success. Donnie, what I'll do is I'll just kind of fire off some random thoughts on some of these games here. Maybe hear your opinion. I think an interesting one is where was I at here? Virginia, Pittsburgh. I've talked about Virginia. Obviously, we know how good they are defensively, and you got to ask yourself, feasibly, what can Pittsburgh do in this game offensively? I don't know that they're in the position to score more than 45 points. I mean, it would really surprise me, Donnie, if Pittsburgh hits 50. I would be blown away if they do that. I just don't know that I can see it. This Virginia team is probably the best team that I've ever seen at this level. Their team total, Pittsburgh, is 49. I mean, it's very low. It's hard for me to actually give that out with a straight face, but I just can't see.
The other night, Jeff, we were joking around at 35. I would just take the under 49 just to throw a flyer out there.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. I just don't see 50 points. I'm sorry. As far as the under itself, it's because I could see one of these crooked games like 80 to 45 or something, and like the game is close and kind of gets up and over. Because Virginia can, Pittsburgh's not going to put a ton on you, but they are a slow tempo team, which is interesting. And that's why, for me, I just don't even know that Pittsburgh will have an opportunity to score this many points. It's hard to not take under 49 as a team total.
No, I completely agree with you. And again, we joked, when you watch Pittsburgh play basketball, Jeff, you can say, what, this guy can get hot, that guy can get hot. The offense that Pittsburgh runs, it literally looks like, Jeff, they get lucky when they score. And then we're not talking about, Jeff, they're going to match up against Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, or Wake. You're going up to me, the single best defensive team in the entire country. Good luck with that.
Right. I remember talking to you about this game a while ago, and we were kind of wondering where the hell would this number be. I'll keep it going, Donnie. I think there's a fascinating game here, 583. 583, I think 584. Yeah. How can you not just fade Drexel today, Donnie, off that high, the way they won the other night? I mean, all the energy they put into it, the excitement after the game. I'm sure all week they were the big man on campus. It's hard to not maybe take a flyer on UNC Wilmington, just kind of fading that big time win.
You're right. I mean, take a look at it, Jeff. Zach Spiker, who would have, outside of me and you, Jeff, most people don't even know what Zach Spiker looks like, or, is he a black head coach, a white head coach? Is he young or is he old? But he's on ESPN late with Scott Van Pelt talking about that game. They're the toast of the town when ESPN is leading. They did something, Jeff, that nobody's ever done in Division I basketball. Now you're going to get maybe one of the worst matchups you could possibly have. Not because it's a good team, Jeff. UNC Wilmington, they're going to want to press. They're going to want to get out and run. They're going to get after it. And you see right here, Jeff, 78% of the tickets coming in on Drexel. Ooh, what a big comeback they had. Do you know how much energy and excitement was expended on coming back in that basketball game? This line hasn't moved off 3, which is a little bit telling. But you're right. Just as a singular spot to fade, it's a good one to fade Drexel here. I agree.
And it's telling in a fact of, Donnie, I don't think anyone just, maybe people don't see it. Maybe people just, maybe they kind of see the writing on the wall here. I think it's tough to not take a shot with Wilmington, just kind of fading that, that high that they were on. Someone's asking about 591, 592, Texas A&M. Donnie, I think at this price range, it's hard to not just fade Vanderbilt. I mean, I think they're a bad basketball team. If the boosters would go absolutely fucking nuts if Texas A&M loses this game. You can't lose to Vanderbilt, Donnie. Vanderbilt's horrible. You got to go in there with some sort of, care in this game. I know Texas A&M all season has been a bit of a kind of a disappointment. Remember Donnie in The Wire when Prop Joe was murdered? Before he was murdered, he said, "My nephew." Marler says, "Yes, boy, it was always a disappointment." That's kind of how I look at Texas A&M. They were sure disappointments, I think, this year. But there's still time. But you can't lose.
I don't know. I think the air is out of the balloon on Texas A&M, Jeff. I mean, I've watched them square. I actually bet on them and against them.
Vandy's bad, man. I mean,
but like A&M has shown me, and the thing that pissed me off even worse is they were in a terrible spot. Then it was last Saturday at Arkansas, Bud Walton, tough place to play. They get blown out. Arkansas shoots the lights out in that game, but then they come back the next game against Mississippi State in the game they had to have at home. And you always hear about the 12th man, and it's always exciting. They played like a third empty gym. And there was a pin drop the entire game. They were completely beaten up in that one. The one advantage they do, Jeff, which you could probably notice, is down low. They are dominant. They are athletic and as good as it gets. They can't shoot free throws, though. They get fouled repeatedly down low, Jeff, and shoot like 60 to 65% for the line. It's hard for me to take that on the road versus Vanderbilt here. It's a game I won't be on, but I'm pissy about Texas A&M right now.
I guess the one really thing I like about A&M here is against the three-point shot, they're very good defending it. 32.2% opponents are shooting it. Vanderbilt is very dependent at times on the three. Fisher Davis or LaChance, those kind of guys. Fisher Davis is actually injured. But, yeah, you know what? You're right, Donnie. Texas A&M just kind of has a feel of, they just kind of go through the motions sometimes, mail it in. I wonder about guys like Robert Williams, his motor. Does he really love the game? I wouldn't be surprised, Donnie, if he's involved in that little indictment, which is interesting. I actually, I'm not saying who it was. I had someone dial in the other night, and they mentioned to me some weird things going on with Robert Williams. So that wouldn't surprise me, Donnie, at all. I don't know. It's a tough one. It just kind of jumps out at you. But this could be one of those traps. The public still loves A&M, still have a good fan base. But it's hard to bet on Vanderbilt, man. We got about 15 minutes to go here. We'll keep rolling through some of these games here. Texas, Arlington, Georgia State should be a pretty good game. Ron Hunter's done a real good job over the years. What a great coach Ron Hunter is. You look at his numbers throughout the years. Did some good things in his previous stops. Now he gets a team in Texas, Arlington, who, Donnie's been a little bit of a mind fuck this year. Sometimes they look great. You look at their last game. They were absolutely fantastic. Crushed who'd they play in their last game? Who was it, Donnie? It was a good opponent, I believe. I'm trying to remember who it was. Georgia Southern. They beat them by 20. They're weird. You look at that, Donnie. This is who Georgia or Texas Arlington is. One game they lose 100-79. Then they come back home and win 83-63. I mean, they're just a weird team, man. I don't know really what. The love affair with them just isn't there this year with Texas Arlington. They've really kind of fell off. Missouri, Kentucky, Donnie, what an interesting game this one is. I've heard some reports that now Michael Porter might play. I don't know how you figure out things with this kid. Then I watched a video, Donnie, back in, I think it was for the ESPYs. It was back in like July. Yeah. Some guy walks up to Michael Porter at the ESPYs and starts talking to him about would he join Big Baller Brand and all this stuff. And then at the end, he goes, "Are you a one and done?" And Michael Porter says, "I don't think I'm a one and done. I'm still very up in the air on if I'm a one and done." I don't know if that's just him trying to, have fun or joke around. But with Michael Porter, I don't think people – joking. Well, I want to make this clear. In this class coming in, I thought Michael Porter was the best player over everyone. I think he in the future will be a star, a superstar. And I'm usually pretty much right with that kind of stuff. So if they can get him back, I mean, you never know with Missouri. I think they kind of have, I don't know how much he'll help right now. How much basketball shape is he in? But it'll be interesting. You're getting 6 points here tonight against UK. Missouri off a loss. I don't know. Kind of like them.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad one. I mean, you want to see Kentucky rounding into shape. Kentucky, we're wait. Everybody, I think Jeff also is waiting for the shoe to drop on Kentucky with the wire. Who knows, Jeff? Maybe 3:00 today, we'll get that Coach Cal got wiretapped. But usually he's pretty smart in his dealings where he's not going to get caught up in that. But you never know what comes down the pike in that one. I don't have much on this game, but I'm not laying 5 with the young Kentucky team. It's not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, Gonzaga, BYU, final game in this conference. Gonzaga heading into the Marriott Center, which generally a very nice place, very good crowd generally. Look, I think Gonzaga is 5 points better than BYU, even on the road. It was a pretty good game the first time they played out in Spokane. Tyler Hall's had a big game, or TJ Hall's had a big game, not Tyler. It was kind of a tough game for Gonzaga, though. I mean, Tilly didn't play well. Silas Melson didn't play well. Norvell didn't play well. They just had a weird game. I just think they're a better team than BYU. BYU's kind of just blah. They might give you some energy in the first half, but I think Gonzaga will do enough to pull away in that game. I think they're definitely just a better team than BYU. And fused teams are generally teams that play hard until the end, no matter if it's locked up or not. You want to end the night on a high note, end the season on a high note as you head in to the conference tournament. So I would probably go with Gonzaga there if I had to.
Yeah, Williams a little bit banged up in that one. Also, TJ Hall is banged up. But you're right. You just got to lean on the better team in that type of environment. Even though BYU is a pretty good home team, Jeff, but you're not asking Gonzaga to cover the normal 15.5 on the road. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Seth Hagen, I think, that's a question we probably don't want to go down. This is not let's talk politics in the government show. Listen, I mean, the FBI is the FBI. I mean, unfortunately, they're not handling situations that they should. They think busting college coaches is more important than school shootings. I don't know. I can't answer that. I guess it's it's kind of like, Donnie, in small cities where, like the city I live in, drugs are a major problem. It's a horrible problem in this town. But every time I read the paper, we've had small prostitution sting busts on different streets. And the whole thing is they were quality of life arrests. First of all, nobody lives on the street. And second of all, why are we worried about that stuff? It just seems like they're always kind of worried about the wrong things. I don't want to get down that road there, Seth, but I think you can answer that question yourself. What else do we have here, Donnie? What else is interesting today?
Jeff, go 563, 564.
All right. USC Utah, good game. I actually liked USC or Utah at 2.5, but it's obviously moved up here. I think people are reading obviously into some of these indictments and stuff. Metu was involved in this. Obviously, Melton's already out. Boatwright's already out. I would imagine Andy Enfield will be mentioned in this indictment. New coach, trying to impress the big boys there. One of his assistants, Tony Bland, is already involved. So, and you have a Utah team that is pretty much unscathed. I mean, Kyle Kuzma took a couple of dollars, but what are you going to do to him?
No current players. Yeah,
make him pay it back. Other than that, Utah must win this game, Donnie. They have to have this. This is no excuse. If you want in the tournament, you got to win this kind of game. And I think they could actually leapfrog the USC Trojans if they win this one. You got to win this game. Then next week, you got to go and beat Utah, or you got to beat Utah at home. 2 very possible wins here. Give me Utah here. Do I think they cover? Yes, I do. Probably.
Yeah, I'm going to lean it. Jeff, this will be my second play today, and I'm going to lean on the same thing. I'm going to go Pac-12 in both games because of some ulterior motives that line up. I already liked, actually, Jeff, Utah being at home in this situation, 5 straight winners, needing the game in this environment. Again, Utah's got a great home court advantage, similar to what Oregon had, but now you're going to throw that big swirl in there, what's going to take place next. And it's about players to me in NCAA basketball, in NFL football. When you remove, Jeff, as you said, the best players on your team, and you're still going to be going on the road with swirling accusations. Give me the home team all day. It's going to be motivated and ready to play. And again, Jeff, these aren't bad teams. Like Oregon's not a bad basketball team. Utah's not a bad basketball team. These are good teams that were already tough to beat on the road as is. I'll take the extracurricular activities and use it against the team I'm wagering on. I gave to my players, the Oregon game, which was at 4. Utah earlier today was at 3, has now jumped up. Since it's a current line, do I love it at the current line? No, but I will still give it out there. I think Utah's going to win this game by 5+ points, and I'll lean on the active lines for that as well. I'm going to go with Oregon today, Jeff, and Utah based on the circumstances of these teams going on the road. No worse you're going to get today from me from a split out of these, and I think we're going to hit a nice 2-0 here today, Jeff.
Donnie, we have a comment coming in from Twitter I'd like to bring to your attention. Jeff, why does Donnie say your name every 3 or 4 words? Jeff, tell him we already know Jeff. We know your name, Jeff. Actually, I don't think he says it as much. Peter Loshak actually does that a lot. He says your name a lot, if you notice. I think it's just kind of like I say certain things. Like I feel like I say a little too much. I think it's just
it adds a point to it, though. It adds the point when you flip the screen over there. Me and Jeff don't sit next to each other, so it's almost like saying when I say the word Jeff, it's usually at the end of a sentence where Jeff knows he's ready to dip right in here. If we're sitting, next to each other, I'm not going to be like Jeff, but it sort of adds the period without doing it. Like Jeff, talk to us on this.
Plus, it's kind of like we have new people joining. There's plenty of people in here. They might not know our names.
Who was the guy thinking you were? Who was the guy thinking I was the big man on campus and you were Donnie a couple weeks back? So there you go.
Right. You just kind of take it literally. Charleston, William and Mary, Donnie. You have a William and Mary total at 153.5. I mean, I feel like anytime they play, I mean, you kind of have to look that way. I mean, you were on Charleston the other night. This team has really gotten going offensively. I think they're the best team in the CAA. They obviously have the leg up hosting this tournament. They have 1 game left, and they're 1 game up. So they still need the game to kind of clinch the regular season title. William and Mary not playing really for anything other than your seeding. The first time they played, I believe it was a high-scoring game, 82-77. So basically you have a game that went to 159. Donnie, why is the total 153.5? Well, that didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of the things, again, College Charleston, Jeff, coming off that senior night, they were unbelievable against Elon, just playing lockdown defense. And that game, Jeff, started off slow. I believe it was like 26 or 29-19 at the half, and they really turned up the gas in the second. But one of those games with not a ton of meaning in it. So why not? Jeff, when Elon gets hot, they can hit the 3, especially at home. We'll see if it works out in that one.
Any thoughts on Bradley? I always look towards Bradley when they're in Peoria. They're a very good defensive team. They're a team that really can lock you down. They're slow tempo. They really bother you. They don't let you kind of run what you want to do. I kind of like Bradley. Indiana State is a team that has had kind of concerns all year on defense. Their defense, they've struggled there. They are having trouble as well right now. They've failed to cover in their last 5 straight games. I don't hate Bradley. USC is going to be in trouble. Remember the name Jason Hart. USC is already in trouble, and their key recruiter was Tony Bland. Tony Bland is, in the basketball circles, one of the best recruiters in the business. He is a guy that creates relationships with players. We not only see why he gets them, he also offers them money. Tony Bland's a smoking gun for USC. What else do we have here? Alex Smith, what's up? Good to see you. He says the wrench is permanent. Yes, you have the ability to block people, and you have all those kind of things. So make sure you use it accordingly. You have to have a couple blocks at least in your career. You can't not block people. As far as what else do we got here? We got about 5 minutes. We'll kind of look to wrap it up. For me, the one play I already have given out, Mammoth Fairfield over 155. And guys, I will share the plays throughout the day. I usually revamp it around 2 o'clock, send out the rest of my plays for the day. Saturdays, obviously, you go in waves. It's not like every other night where at 7 o'clock the games start, they end by 10 or 11. It's all day, so I got to be a little bit more sporadic with what I'm doing. Plus, Donnie, I like to see what things happen. This is an interesting one, Donnie. 629, 630. You have a real battle here in the Ivy. Harvard, Penn.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Harvard was in a OT game last night up in Princeton. Princeton struggled in the OT. Now you got to go on the road, take on Penn, who leads this conference. These teams are both tied, Donnie, for the Ivy League lead. And Donnie, you know what's interesting? I think I remember telling you the other day, my father's birthday was on, what was it, Tuesday, I think. My father was sick. Okay, so my mom basically says, we're not going to have you guys down tonight. We're going to do it later in the week. So I said, okay, let's try to do it Friday. My mother's busy last night, so they picked tonight. I got to go down to my father's for a birthday and stuff. I honestly was going to go to this game, Harvard Penn. One of the listeners, Austin, he mentioned to me that I could come down. He'd give me a ticket. This is going to be a great game. So unfortunately, I won't be at this one, but 10-1 in conference, big game. I think Penn gets the upper hand here. I think the crowd feed off the crowd. They feed off the fact that last night they had a pretty easy victory.
Yeah.
Princeton, Harvard was a barn burner. I think the change of the guard's happening here, Donnie. I think Steve Donahue's doing the thing here with Penn.
Yeah, no, it opens up strong. I mean, that's a nice line for Penn to open up at 4.5 sitting here at home. And you have that same, that weird Ivy League stuff, Jeff, Harvard on the road. And again, they played Princeton last night, Jeff. That's a game, one of those all-time rivalries when you match up Harvard versus Princeton. They put a lot into that, and it did go to overtime. And again, also, Jeff, this isn't your great Princeton teams that are usually at the top of the conference. This is a more bottom-rung Princeton team. Now you're heading to Philadelphia, who, again, Penn didn't have that tough of a game previously, and we're at home, sleep in your own beds. Now you're going to line up and play for supremacy. They're both going to get in because the Ivy League tournament is the top 4-seeded tournament, but you always want that one line heading in here. I agree, Jeff. I like Penn here as well.
Yeah, definitely. Donnie, we got to try to find our way to the Ivy League tournament. I'll definitely.
We almost did it last year. Yeah, we almost did it last year. Yeah.
I'll probably try to get there for that final game. We'll do one more here. Let's pick a random one. Where do I want to go? How about this one? 7-13, 7-14. Idaho, Weber State.
There's your boys.
If you know me, I love Weber State. I wasn't on them in the last game. I kind of knew to stay away. I think it's time to go back to the well in this game at this number. This is probably one I'm going to consider later. Weber State is one game back in the Big Sky. There's still 3 games to play. Plenty of time here. Both teams are very much interested in this game. I love Weber at home. I like them defensively. I think they're fantastic offensively. It is senior night here at the stadium, so it should be a fun night of hoops. Idaho, I like Victor Sanders a lot. Don Verlin does a great job there, but for me, I kind of like Weber. It's hard to not play them at this number. I'm going to find maybe a way to just play the money line here. I think this could come right down to the wire. Weber generally likes to do that, but I think they find a way to get the job done, and that sets up a monstrous game, Donnie, over the week against Montana. That should be a good one. But for that one to matter, you need a win here. Weber looking pretty good.
And by the way, Jeff, these conference tournaments, which are going to kick off, relatively quickly here, me and the big man, one of our favorite things to do, Jeff, name the conference tournament, and can you name the possible tip-off times for this conference tournament that I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Late night, random evenings. I like this conference tournament. I'm a big Sky guy. I like it.
It's a great one. And again, me and Jeff, you got to get the links offline. Sometimes they have these games just on the conference website. And if you've never watched it before, just a PSA, it's fantastic television other than the fact they don't go to commercials. So when it's halftime, whoever is announcing the game, which is probably like, the assistant AD's kid doing the game, they just put the headset down and just put a live camera on the court with nothing going on and like 300 people in the stands total. We're going to be doing that, Jeff. Maybe we even have to chime in for a late night bet cast on one of these games at once.
Yeah, all you really see is like the band and they're playing and stuff. Ryan Butler took Flyers money line. Yeah, Flyers playing well, aren't they?
They can't go wrong. There you go. Ask Alex. He'll tell you about that. Let's go. Flyers all day.
Flyers have the Ottawa Senators today at 2:00. A little matinee hockey action.
Yeah,
wrong with that.
All right.
Who's the coach there at the Flyers? John Stevens. I don't know who's the coach. Dave Haxtell.
Yeah, Haxtell and Haxtell. Yeah.
Roman
Heck's
Czechmonic
going
in
hack.
goal. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
Donnie, everyone have a great night. I did see they made a trade. They brought in that Mrazek guy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he looked good in his first game, Jeff. 19 saves out of 20. Picked up another dub step out there. Flyers looking good. The whole city of Philadelphia's on fire between the Sixers and the Flyers. Something's got to give.
14-0-1 since the Super Bowl. How about that?
Yeah, Jeff, and your players are 27-1 after the Super Bowl as well. So congratulations to
Danny
you.
Garcia's winning boxing fights. Everybody wins in the city. Just how we do it here. Everyone have a great night. Appreciate you tuning in. Zach Martin likes Michigan. All right. Well, you're a fair Michigan fan, so I don't know if we should put any stock in that. So yeah, everyone have a great night. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll be on Twitter throughout the day, throwing out some picks. My only pick today so far, Monmouth Fairfield over 155, and you can find that at 1:00 p.m. So it starts in about an hour. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you next time here on The Closing Line.